reviewing Justice League versus Teen Titans. I'm Chanel.
And I'm Anthony. This pack, just like last time, is really cool because, again, they give you a whole bunch of stuff for a moderate price. It's about $29 at Best Buy, and you get a kit full of 3 things. So first you get the movie. It's a Blu-ray DVD combo pack.
It also comes with bonus features.
Oh yeah, the bonus features, which we'll get into a little bit later. Not as many as usual, but they did have some pretty cool stuff. You get this Robin action figure, which will give you a close-up on. And then you also get this Teen Titans Blinded by the Light.
And now Anthony's going to tell you about the voice actors for this particular movie.
So not to bore everyone with the same voice actors that have appeared in previous DC movies, we'll focus on our newcomers. First up is Taissa Farmiga as Raven. Taissa has been in numerous amount of shows, including the very popular American Horror Story series, but this is her first time in the voice recording studio, especially for anything involving comics. Although Shemar Moore has played Victor Stone in Justice League War and Throne of Atlantis, his presence in the comic book world had to be mentioned, for he was in one of Chanel's favorite shows, Birds of Prey, in 2002, as Jesse Reese. John Bernthal got to extend his journey into the comic book world when he played Trigon in this movie. He is better known for his comic book roles of Shane in The Walking Dead and the Punisher in Season 2 of Daredevil. Although in my opinion he was used very sparingly for this movie, I felt he did a great job with the material given to him. For Brandon Suhu, Garfield Logan / Beast Boy was his first soiree into the voice acting world, although the 20-year-old has been acting since 2007 when he played the role of Tran, the psychotic maniacal child leader of Flaming Dragon in the movie Tropic Thunder. Since then, he has been a main character on the show from dusk till dawn. Jake T. Austin as Jaime Reyes, also known as Blue Beetle, has been in the voice acting game a long time, as he is none other than Diego himself from Dora the Explorer and his own TV series back in 2005 when he was only 11. Jake is only the second actor to voice Blue Beetle and the first one to do it in a movie capacity. Carrie Walgren as Starfire has been hinted at for a few movies now, with brief cameos in Batman vs. Robin and Batman Bad Blood, but this was her first time to truly delve into the character. Carrie is an accomplished voice actor with 29 years of experience. Some of her other roles include Saturn Girl from Legion of Superheroes, Emma Frost from Wolverine and the X-Men. She also played Black Canary and Hawkgirl in Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, and more recently the other DC animation movie Justice League Gods and Monsters, where she played Karen Beecher and Livewire.
So this time around, I felt like this movie was definitely an improvement from Bad Blood. For those of you who saw our first review, I like Bad Blood, but it definitely wasn't our favorite. This one, I feel like suffered from some of the same similar flaws, where like I felt like characters that they were building on, they could have had more time to do it. Obviously, they were trying to put it in a condensed amount of time. But the plot, I felt like this time was a lot better, not as convoluted as Bad Blood.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that they're delving into Raven, which is one of my favorite characters from the Teen Titans. So it was really interesting to see their take on her background story and whatnot. Although I always want there to be more story for her, because there can always be more story to delve into a character so that you can fall in love with them more. So I feel like they did a better job this time than they did with Batwing, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. The story was interesting because at first you think it's going to be more of a Robin story, just because it's kind of following him at first, and he's still adjusting to kind of being part of the Justice League, or at least like helping out on the Justice League, which was kind of cool. So you see his whole interaction with all of them.
I thought it was interesting that he was more resentful in the beginning.
Yeah.
Very resentful kid. And but I also thought it was kind of contradictory from the last movie, because he seemed more like zen, okay with everything. And this one, it was kind of like
he went backwards.
He went back to his old ways, which was more realistic for me.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't so much forced, like he was trying to make him somebody he wasn't.
Yeah.
The dialogue in this movie I felt was very witty and awesome. Like there's scenes between like Robin where he's talking to like Starfire or Blue Beetle, and he just completely pones them.
Nightwing said you were a princess. Exile, no doubt.
And like it or not, I am the leader of this group.
As I see it, you're an alien with nowhere else to go.
I like that they're throwing in Blue Beetle more. I think he's like a brand new character I don't really know about, so I think they didn't really double into him, but the movie also isn't really about him, so that's understanding. But overall, I think they did a very roundabout, and it didn't make me disappointed as much as I was with the other one. One of the things that we definitely picked up on was the fact that when the Teen Titans go in to fight, they do like a Sailor Moon breakdown.
That was the weirdest thing.
It was so weird.
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon. She will never turn her back on a friend. She is always there to defend. She is the one on whom we can depend. She is the one named Sailor.
And they've never done that in the other movies, so it was like, why are you...
Well, it
Like
was
that.
it was a different director too. Like Jay Oliva, I know, did the last
Wrong
one.
directing. Mm-mm.
It was funny. Like
It was funny, it was comical, because I'm like, that's a copycat move, and it's not at all what I think of as superheroes. Like, wait, let me get my breakdown.
You got
Let
the
me get my
stars and the
spotlight and
sparkles.
the sparkles.
Yeah.
It was pretty strange. And I also thought it was strange that they spent so much time on the Dance Dance Revolution section.
They had a carnival scene where they were all doing like different things, like playing different games, and then Beast Boy and Robin were going at Dance Dance Revolution for
It was
Blue Beetle.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beetle
Beetle Boy.
Beetle Boy. Yeah, and they were playing Dance Dance Revolution, and then Robin took over, and he sucked at first, and then he like
And
caught.
he killed it at the end.
He
and
killed it.
It was just, I'm surprised they spent so much time on the dancing.
That song was awesome, though. Like, I was grooving to that song. I was like, if they had this on the Dance Dance Revolution, I'd get down on it.
Oh, I think you're crazy. Can't have my love. Oh, I think you're crazy. Can't have my heart. So crazy boy.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I would. That used to be my, like, game, so I thought it was cool that they incorporated it in the movie.
Another thing about Raven's story that they were doing was a little bit of a different aspect for her mother,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting, that she was in a cult.
Well,
She was in a devil cult, and then it wasn't really our devil. It was just
it was
a demon from another planet, which...
Trigon, you know,
Yes.
Raven's dad. Which is cool because at least that part was accurate.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't venture from that. But again, I haven't read her comics like thoroughly, so I don't really know the full story. But from what I've read online, it's like a roundabout of
Similar-ish.
the mom either gets tricked into sleeping with this guy because he looks like something else, or that she was part of a cult and just decided, yep, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see this movie's take on that, even though it was very brief. They also had another TV show on Cartoon Network, the Teen Titans, not to get confused with Teen Titans Go, which sucks.
Yeah.
But that, I think during their last season, they went over Raven's story and her background, which they also include in the DVD that you buy with the bonus feature. They have one of the episodes from that, and it's really cool to see both their aspects on it and how it doesn't really clash, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes this film so unique in the fact, I mean, they're all unique, but this one kind of really hits a little bit more home for me, is that, you know, I really like that Teen Titans cartoon, and I watched it every day when I'd come home from school, and, you know, it was one of those things I looked forward to, and even though the animation was a little bit
Yeah, I
weird,
didn't like the animations for Teen Titans
but it still kept me, like,
Cartoon Network.
it
But
kept me involved.
yeah, the story was so good that I was okay with it. But the Teen Titans Go, they even made the cartoon even more cartoonish, and it just didn't appeal to me. I didn't like it.
Well, I was so excited when I heard they were coming out with a new Teen Titans cartoon, and I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome. And I heard they got all the voice actors back, and then I watched like an episode at work, and it was just horrifying. Like, they turned it into like a SpongeBob type of deal, almost, where
I really didn't like that.
it's like ADD humor, which was just ridiculous. Like, they were talking about pancakes, which, I mean, they always had moments in the show that were kind of cartoony, but then they got down to business. Like, Slade was always really badass, and then you had
I
like...
love Slade in the Cartoon Network Teen Titans. I really liked his character and how they developed him. And they had time to develop him.
Yeah.
But I think that for Justice League versus Teen Titans, it was interesting that Cyborg was not a main Teen Titans character in this movie. He's not even in the movie most of the time.
But I do like that they hinted to him wanting to be more of a Teen Titan, and they kind of teased it since he had already moved to the Justice League at that point.
Yeah, and at the end, he's like eating pizza at the Teen Titans Tower and stuff. It's like I don't know if they're trying to make it where he rekindles with Teen Titans, or if it's his introduction towards the Teen Titans, and he's, changing gears, seeing which direction to go with his character, which is great. I love that aspect too. It's very unique and different. I like that.
Well, because he's when you watch Justice League War and he actually becomes Cyborg, like, he's still a football player in high school, just wanting his dad's acceptance. So technically, I mean, he's already the same age as the Teen Titans are. So it makes sense for him to be part of that team, because he was the youngest person on the Justice League at that point.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Justice League, I feel like there was a lack of Justice League members in this movie. Most notably missing was Aquaman, Green Lantern, Shazam. Not that I feel like you need them all there, but...
Well, I feel like if all of them were there and they all got taken over by Trigon, like,
that would have
been it. Like,
you can't win against that.
With Teen Titans just starting out and they haven't even really trained that much together or anything, there's no way they would have been able to take on all of Justice League's. It should have been like some Justice League, but...
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, but by itself, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg were enough. I mean, Batman pulled the ultimate G status moment where he's like,
I don't want to get...
He's like, I've been compromised, and stabs himself with like a paralyzing venom just so he doesn't...
he wouldn't morph out with Trigon's demonic.
It was
taking
amazing.
Over, yeah.
That, like, for me was like the most amazing thing. That just proves Batman's amazing. If he's like, I'm willing to just sacrifice myself.
And it also shows that, Damian?
Damian,
Yeah, it also shows that Damian takes after his dad, because he's talking about how, leave Superman to me. And they're like, what are you talking about? You can't take out Superman. And he just looks at them like a little snarky little kid, like, I got this. I already know. Like, my dad's told me everything to watch out for, and here's the moment. Here's the proof in the pudding. Like,
which I think was great.
Yeah. And I feel like the other teammates were definitely impressed with him. They're also kind of annoyed with him at the same time because he's so closed off. But it's also interesting to see their take on having Raven and Robin bond so much, because they're so closed off and they're a little bit more of a darker characters, which I really like to see. I really like seeing that even friendship build, and even though they're not like saying, oh yeah, we're best buddies, they're just kind of like, I understand.
I feel
move
you.
on.
Yeah.
It was very subtle, but it was definitely noticeable.
I like that, like, even the relationships they formed in, like, the other Teen Titans show versus this one, not everybody was matching up the same way. Like, obviously a lot of people wanted Raven and Beast Boy to be together, right?
Yeah, that's one of the storylines, is that Raven and Beast Boy eventually get together.
And in Teen Titans, Robin and Starfire are together. In this one, technically they still are, but it's Nightwing and
it's Dick
Starfire.
Grayson, yeah.
Yeah, which is cool, because the Teen Titans, that was created originally, I believe, had Tim Drake as the Robin figure. And this one, they had Damian. And then in the original Teen Titans, I'm not sure, was that...
I'm not sure. But I do like that they're throwing Damian more into this, because he's kind of like
a big player now.
He's definitely a big player, and it's just nice to see his character develop from being so young and being, you know, he was being groomed from Ra's al Ghul, and seeing him just progress and make decisions and make, you know, you can kind of see like his character develop and change. And even though he's still dark, he's still faithful to being a hero and, you know,
Yeah.
venturing out and trying things. And, you know, he tries to act like,
Tough guy.
yeah, like tough guy, like I don't need your help, I could do this on my own. And then when he gets the help, and he's kind of like, yeah, okay, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, I feel like it's, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like their cartoons have definitely put a lot of faith into Damien as a character.
Yeah,
Because they had Son of Batman, they had Batman versus Robin, they had Bad Blood, and all of those, Damien was a huge focus in that. And then this one, he's one of the two main characters, because I'd say Raven's definitely the other one at that point.
well, she's definitely the main character
Yeah.
because they're going over her whole story. But yeah, I do find it kind of strange that Starfire was so old.
Yeah, I mean, they've alluded to that in the other movies, though, because you see, like, a glimpse of her on Nightwing's phone and stuff. So apparently she is older, but I don't know, they didn't really go over Starfire that
Yeah,
much
they
in
didn't
this
go over
one.
her background story or anything like that, which I'd love to see. But again, that could just be in a future movie or whatever. And that kind of goes back to the whole, you know, having a TV series versus having a movie.
Yeah.
So a TV series, you have so much more time to develop each character and make the audience love them more and more and more. But this one, it's kind of...
She didn't kick a lot of butt, though, which was also upsetting. Like, the scenes she was in that she got a few hits in, most of the time I found she was on her back. One of the special features on this DVD that we thought was really cool, too, was the Growing Up Titans section, which actually gave the whole background of when the Teen Titans were created in comics.
It was like the whole history from
Yeah.
back in,
The,
say, 1960s.
Yeah, so they talk about from the beginning of the 1960s when it originally came out, and they wanted to have characters that were relatable to the readers, because the majority of readers, I guess, were between the age of like 15 to 17. So they wanted to have characters that kind of matched the reader, so you felt more involved, because obviously Batman, Superman, all
They're
those,
older.
they're already older.
And to draw people in to kind of get attention for Teen Titans, they would have people who are already in the DC universe. So they had Robin, you associate him with Batman, and then you have, who else was it?
You had Speedy, aka Red Arrow, which was Green Arrow's
Nephew?
his squire.
Squire. And then they had, what was it, Aqualad?
No,
No, that's the new ones, right?
that was the new one. It was Kid Flash.
Kid Flash.
Which I didn't, to be honest, I didn't know Kid Flash was so well ingrained in the history of comics, because first time I ever saw him was actually in Young Justice as Wally West. And I mean, I knew Kid Flash existed, it's just I didn't know how deep into the mythos he went, especially to be one of the original 3 members of that team is pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like ever since we started watching The Flash on WB, that we've definitely been more interested in knowing the whole background story of the Flashes and what they had. And it's so interesting because of how many different hits
Flashes.
they have.
Yeah, they have tons of different types of Flashes, which is cool.
Yeah. But one of the things that they kind of explain in that featurette is that, you know, they have all these heroes that it just wasn't really working for them. And it eventually died out in the 1970s, I think.
Yeah.
And so when they revamped Justice League and somebody else took it upon themselves to
Revamp Teen
redo it,
Titans.
they introduced Starfire and Raven and Cyborg, and that's kind of the newer characters that helped make that series so successful.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they talked about was how every person in that particular version that they talk about in the featurette, not the movie, is that they all have such tragedies in their life that makes them so dark. And
Yeah.
because they're so dark, they're kind of more relatable.
Yeah, because the other thing I thought was interesting, which is a good point, is nobody likes a perfect superhero. case in point, a lot of people have feelings towards Superman because they feel like he barely has any flaws, and I feel like flaws make up who we are and that we're imperfect. So superheroes in their ways are imperfect too, and it just makes them interesting characters because you want to know more about them and what makes them tick and things like that.
Yeah, and it makes you want to see their struggles and see that they struggle sometimes with the same things that we do in our own lives, which just makes you, I feel like, makes it more relatable and makes you like them more.
Yeah.
One of the cool features that they have is the sneak peek to The Killing Joke.
Yes.
And everyone is excited for this movie.
Everyone.
And then after seeing the sneak peek, it just puts you on the edge of your seat looking to see when the release date is. Like, it was really, really good. And it didn't, I feel like it didn't give too much away.
But enough to get
especially
you excited.
Yeah, and not like there's stuff that we don't already know from, everything else from the whole series for how long it's been going on.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that there's so much controversy when that comic first came out.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
very
it was
touchy...
so dark and gritty.
Yeah.
And to see, like, you got your comic fans, sure, but you have, like, everyone getting upset about that comic. I thought that was interesting to find out. No.
They even got the whole original cast back from the Batman the Animated Series from the 90s. So you got Kevin Conroy as Batman, you got Mark Hamill as the Joker, Tara Strong as Batgirl. The only one I think they got that's different than the original show is Ray Weiss as playing Commissioner Gordon. But it looks like they literally took scenes straight from the comic and translated it into the movie, which is awesome because the graphic novel, a lot of them consider one of the most beautiful graphic novels just because the way that everybody looks in it is
It was
like
all
so
drawn,
realistic.
Yeah.
So, and me and Chanel really like that whole realistic looking art form that they use for certain
Yeah, I
ones.
wish that they would make more realistic, like, animated series. Like, when they did X-Men in the 90s, like, I loved that so much. Like, the artwork was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that lasted so long. And now I feel like they have, these comic shows and, I like Justice League. It doesn't bother me that they're not super detailed, but they're also not super cartoony like Cartoon Network's Teen Titans. But man, I would just fall in love if they did an X-Men style.
I agree.
That was just, I think it's worth it. I mean, I know that the artists out there are like, F you, it's not.
So another thing I thought that again Chanel will probably have a fit again about is the fact that at the very end of the movie they decided to sneak something in like they did with Bad Blood and they put Tara in there, which if you guys watch the Teen Titans show or you read the comics, like Tara's a really cool character.
I was actually more happy this time. I don't think that it's an introduction to her. All they do is do the same thing they do with Batgirl, which is just show her for like 2 seconds and that's it. But I was excited, which is what I said last time too. I was still excited, but I wasn't over the moon. They didn't do a bunch of they just showed her.
Yeah, but I mean it was still really cool. And then again,
I definitely wasn't expecting that.
no, it caught us off guard.
I figured with for them having Blue Beetle, I figured they were going like creating new heroes rather than revisiting some of the older ones, and to see Tara involved in it or having her, eventually be in there. I'm really curious to see if she's going to be a good guy or bad guy. Because she teetered in the
Show.
Cartoon Network show, yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense because if Nightwing is with Starfire, then that makes perfect sense for her to try to get with Damian.
Yeah, that
'Cause-
could happen.
Now you have that open relationship that can be explored, which I know they were all lovey-dovey in the cartoon.
Yeah, who does Cyborg get with?
Cyborg's just forever sad.
Isn't he with the Bumblebee girl?
Maybe. They might explore that, like have Lagoon Boy and Bumblebee and all those people and do like a hive thing maybe.
Maybe. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. So another thing I felt was really cool about this movie was the action scenes. Like I feel like they did a very good job of keeping your interest. Just to even start off with, they had the Justice League versus the Legion of Doom and they were fighting at the Hall of Justice. And you had like a lot of the really cool bad guys, like you had Grundy facing Batman, you had Lex Luthor and Superman, Weather Wizard versus Flash. So it made it really cool to kind of see the dynamics. They had the Cheetah versus Wonder Woman.
I really want them to double up more on the Cheetah.
On Cheetah? Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's supposed to be one of Wonder Woman's main nemesis. And
Yeah.
I feel like she's never really into either the movie world or the cartoon.
Which hopefully that
Series.
changes now, because
Yeah.
they're having a Wonder Woman movie, so you never knew it could show up in that.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool just to devil in that character, because I'm always curious about her.
Yeah. The other action scene in this movie that is based on what the movie's called, which you didn't really get too much of Teen Titans
Yeah.
versus Justice League.
I felt with them having that, I don't know if that was just a ploy to get people to
watch it.
the movie.
Made sense to me though. I mean, like,
Yeah, but for that to be the title, we would have thought that fight scene would have been a little bit more epic, a little bit more longer.
you got probably about 3 or 4 minutes versus the Justice League, and they only really fought against Flash and Wonder Woman. Cyborg, and I guess Cyborg too.
Superman was in there.
But they weren't fighting him at that point, because they were saying that if they were to fight Superman, they would have lost a lot quicker, because a demonic Superman, I'm pretty sure he's not going to bother to just, like, destroy you in 2 seconds.
I don't know. That whole fight scene was very disappointing. I was not happy with that.
Yeah, I feel like the fight versus Trigon was more of just like flies buzzing around somebody because they weren't doing any damage. I did think it was cool how when they went to hell though, and they had all those crazy things and creatures, and then you find out like Ra's al Ghul's there. And
Yeah, that was interesting. I like that twist.
that was a great twist, because the whole movie he's preaching about his grandfather and bringing it all back to Ra's al Ghul, and then you find out that he's there and he's working for Trigon, and you're like, what?
Yeah, Damon's like, Grandpa. Of course.
But I didn't really understand how he died either. Like, I know that, like, he pushed him into the wall with all the hands grabbing, and then he turned into a creature, and then, like, they sucked him up and he disappeared. That was a little confusing for me, but other than that, I feel like that was cool.
Yeah, I feel like in the future Teen Titans movies, if they do make them, I think it'll be way better fight scenes, because they haven't worked with each other enough to know how to navigate on a battlefield, I feel like.
Yeah.
So now we have a segment that we're going to start doing, and it's our opinion on whether or not you should rent it
Or buy it. So, real simple, I guess there's only 2 options. I personally think buy it. I think there was enough content, especially with the extra stuff, where the movie was good, where I would rewatch it. And then I really liked the featurettes, and I feel like the 2 mini cartoons were even enough to like hold my attention.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would definitely buy it. Especially with all the stuff that you get with it. You get the little mini action figure, and you get the comic book. I definitely think that's worth the money alone. And really, I mean, I liked the movie. I think the movie was good. It's a great start to the Teen Titans world. I hope they continue with it and make more movies. And, but man, having that sneak peek of the Killing Joke, that also made me like completely satisfied with buying this.
Thanks for joining us for our color on the comic. Join us next time when we'll be opening up this month's Marvel's Collector Core box. See you then!